All right, good morning, everyone. Sorry for a little bit of a delay this morning. I am going to show my screen. Give me 1 second here. So I'm going to start us off in Paragon, and what we're going to do is go through Realist today. Now, Realist is a third-party website. Just like any other site, there's always room for error, so double check the information you find on there. But what we're going to do today is we're going to go into Realist. I'm going to show you how you can run comparables. We're going to take a look at running the map itself and actually creating labels that you can send out flyers to your clients or to adjust sold and so forth. So let's get started in Paragon. And if you do have questions, again, on the right side of your screen, you can go ahead and type a question. Debbie's on, so she'll keep an eye on that, and she can let me know when there's a question, or she may be able to answer it herself for you as well. Okay, so let's go to our Paragon page. Everyone should be here. And we are going to start off in Paragon. And what we're going to do is actually show you the couple ways that we can get into Realist. First way is directly from a listing. You have those quick action links, and if you want to go ahead and type in a property address at the top, we'll go ahead and pull the Realist information for you. You can use my property, my listing, or if you have something specific you want to search and you need to run maybe comparables or you need more information on it, you can go ahead and use that. In the top of your screen on the left here, there's a white box. It's your power search. I use this. It's just like a Google search. You can type in a property address. You can type in multiple MLS numbers. You can even type in an agent's name, and it will locate the information for you. So if you want to use my property, you can. This is my listing. It's 13644 Colpart, and it's Colpaert. And when you pull this up, you're going to notice that all these will pop up underneath it. And if you look at each listing, there is in parentheses whether it's active or closed. Mine is currently active, so you'll want to select that one. If you're ever not unsure which one it is, if you select here where it says listing 7, it opens up a one-line report of all the listings. Go ahead and select my listing. And once you open it up into a full listing report, we're going to take a look at those little quick action links. I'm on the legacy full agent report, but you might be on an agent detail with big map. There's a few others. So your icons might be in the center or over to the right instead of mine's on the left here. So we're going to look for those little colored icons. They're shortcuts that will take you somewhere else in the system. And as you have this open, you're going to go over to the red icon. If you hover over it, it should say Realist Property Detail. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And that should load the information. So the first part is going to be the information about this property. So you can see the property address at the top, the owner information, location, school district, tax records are in here. It does go 3 years back for assessments and taxes. And as you go down a little bit further, you're going to have characteristics. One thing you'll notice as you're looking at the characteristics is that it'll say tax and MLS in certain areas. And the reason it has a difference here is because it's showing that tax records shows the finished living square footage is 1,027, but MLS record shows as 1,040. So when you do see that, you might want to double check that information as well to see what's correct. And as you go down further, you're going to have a cell score. Again, they're saying it's rated as a high cell score. And, you know, they use different statistical information to come up with this information. And again, I think it's the amount of time the owner's been in the home, the type of equity that's in the home, and so forth. And that's how they come up with these numbers. Listing information. So you should see here that this is listed currently, and it's going to have my information. But below that, it's going to show when it was listed before and whether it closed or was active or withdrawn, expired, and so forth. Then you've got last market sale and sales history. This is going to go back and show you every sale on this property, which again is great information. And then the last thing under here, which is something I use all the time, is the mortgage history. This will show you the different mortgages that were taken out and what bank they were with, which I find this is extremely useful information. Okay, so from this point, if I want to run comps, I'm going to go ahead and scroll back to the top, and at the top left of my screen, I have a couple options. I have Launch Realist, Comparables, and Neighborhood Profile. We're going to select Comparables and go ahead and click on that. And the reason I like using this for comparables at times, because this is not only pulling tax records, but you're pulling MLS records as well. So you're getting both. All the MLS data is in here, as well as your tax. So if there's a for sale by owner, you're going to find this information here where you're not going to find it in Paragon. And the load here. Okay. If you've used Realist more recently, this has changed a little bit. They did change the view. Things are still where they were before, but it does have a little bit different view now on your dashboard in a few different areas. So at the very top here, you'll notice different tabs. Property details is the page we were just on. That gave all the information about the property. Comparables is what we'll be running now, and then we're going to create these additional tabs as well. If you notice, there's a map, and on the map, it actually pulls multiple properties already, because what it's doing, it has a search criteria box as a default setup for you. So it's automatically pulling comparables right now, but we're going to adjust that as we go. Excuse me, on the right side of your screen, there's the statistics. I'm going to break down those numbers for you. You can see for a sale price and square footage and price per square foot, it's going to give you your high, your low, and your median as well. We're going to scroll down a little bit further here, and we're going to look at this list of properties, and we're actually going to adjust our search criteria. So you can notice here are the properties at the bottom, and I'm going to actually close my map. So right above your map here, you can change this view. Right now we're on a split, which means my map is viewing here, my list is underneath. Just want your map, you select map, but I'm going to select list just so you can see my list a little bit better. There it is. And you can always toggle back and forth between these views. So what you'll notice here is my subject properties at the top, and then all the comparables it pulled is running underneath. And if you notice, there is an area here to view the detailed report. The camera is going to give you photos, and then it gives you information with the property address from there. This is a one-line report. It's just like our spreadsheet in Paragon, where it's like an Excel spreadsheet. I can click on any one of these sections and I can sort it by that section. So if I scroll here a little bit further, for example, and if I go by sold price, you can see here it's not in specific order. So if I double click on this, it's now going to put it from high to low, or I can click it again, and it's also going to re-sort it for me as well, depending which order you want it. So here we go. So again, you can sort by one column. So let's adjust our comps. So what we're going to do is take a look at the right side of your screen. And in the white section here, it says search criteria. Go ahead and select your search criteria box. And this is the information we have that's been set up as a default for you. Mine might look a little different. I know I've adjusted mine, and you can adjust yours now and make it a default if you would like. So the first option is how many comparables do I want to see? You have a maximum of 50 comparables. Mine is set up for 20, but if you'd like to see more, you can just click on that drop-down menu and select how many you like. Next is your sort method. When my results pull up, how would I like to see them? I have them set up so square footage comes up first, so anything that's closest in square footage to my subject property will be at the top of my list. But you can change it to the distance from your subject property, from the recording date, so the more recent first, by the sale price, or again, by the square footages I have. You want to include property images, value projected by assessment. So these are some automatic values that they set up for you. This will include by the assessment, so it takes your statistics and breaks down those numbers for you and gives you projected value. This will give it to you by square footage. And then you also have your real AVM. Your real AVM is an automated value model. And what it does is it takes your tax records, your MLS records, it averages them out and gives you an approximate value on the property. So it can be like some of the other sites. It's not a true value because, again, as agents, you're going to want to run full search, select your comparables, and come up with those for your client. So again, any of these that you don't want, you can turn them off. You just click on this and it'll toggle them on and off for you. The next option is your data source. This is really important. Please make sure you have both selected. We want to see all of our MLS records, but we want to make sure we're getting those tax records. We want to get those for sale by owners because that's what makes this site different than us just running it ourselves in Paragon. As far as preference for a pool, I change this from each property. So if the property has a pool, then I may come in here and change it and request it with comparables, but you can keep it, either way. For now, I would suggest as a default, uses no preference and then modify it per property. Okay, the distance from the subject property, mine is set up for 1 mile. You can go as far as 10 miles. If you're in a rural area, you're up, in a farm area, you're up further north, you're not going to find much in a mile radius. You may want to adjust it then. But for a default, I would suggest doing 1 mile. Next is sale price. Now, I usually don't select anything for a sale price. I like to see what's pulling up. So if you want to run a search depending on a sale price, you can for comparables. But as far as my default, mine's set up, I just leave it blank. Same thing with year built. A lot of these specific characteristics is a default. I don't like to include these, but when I do run a search individually for a property, I may select these. One thing you'll notice with stories, you have an option to go 1 story, and you have an option to go 2 stories. You don't have an option for a 1.5. So if you do select from 1 to 2, you should find those split level ranges. Those should pop up. Tax distress sales, as long as you selected both, then there's no option here for you. It's going to include everything. As far as your boundaries, same thing. As far as if you're including both for sales records, this is not going to include anything. We already selected actually our 1 mile radius, and that's what it's going by. If you went 2 miles, 5 miles, whatever it might be, this is already preset for you. So you won't. The only time you will see an option here is if you don't have the specific miles that you'd like to go around your subject property. Site influence, is it by an airport? Is it water property? Is it bay? Is it a lake or golf course or whatever it might be? There are multiple options. Again, as a default, you want to keep no preference, but individually you can adjust these. So especially when you're dealing with water view, waterfront properties, and so forth. And this property is not, so I'm going to keep mine as no preference. As far as date type, we are selecting how far back we're going. So we're going to go by sales date, not the recording date. And my time period I've selected is 6 months. Again, this market has been a little crazy, so I am going to go 6 months back. You can go up to 1 year back. Living building area square footage. So for the percentage on this, I usually typically go, as most appraisers do, 20% below the square footage of my subject property, 20% above my subject property. This can be adjusted to whatever percentage you'd like. As you can see. So again, this might need to be adjusted as you go, but as a default, I prefer to keep 20% on mine. Square footage, again, I don't want to make an adjustment here. This is my default, so I'm going to keep it the way it is. I'm going to let it pull everything. I can always come back and adjust this again for this property. Lot area, percentage and difference, as you can see, mine is empty. This property doesn't have acreage. I don't do a lot of properties with acreage, but when you are dealing with acreage, you can do some type of percentage of the difference from the acreage of the subject, whether below and above percentage. So then you'll want to adjust this as you've got a property with acreage that you're dealing with. And since I have this percentage difference, again, I won't be selecting these. And let's look at our 2 last boxes here. So you have an option for land use and style. Just like in Paragon, we always tell you not to use the regular style, to use structure style. It's the same thing in Realist. You don't want to use style. If I select bungalow, most likely my results are going to be 0. It's not going to locate them. If I go by my land use, it will locate my properties. And as you notice, I have same as subject, and I selected single family residence. So in order to select these, if they're not already, you would just check mark them and it drops them here. If you don't want something that's already selected here, if yours for some reason has something else selected, whether it's a condo, whatever it might be, all you do is click on this X and it removes it for you. But again, searching for me is same as the subject property and single family residence. If I'm dealing with a condo, then I'll add that in as well. And style, I just leave this blank. So we're going to go ahead and select now save and submit. We'll save your changes as a default. If you select submit, it will just save this as your search criteria for just this specific search that we're running right now. So again, if you want as a default, you can. At the end, if we have some time, I will take you into settings to show you where you can change this again. So if you save and submit, it will now reload your results and show you what your new results are. Okay, so it should have loaded. And again, mine right now, because I did sort by low to high, it is still in low to high.
Hey, Lisa.
Yes.
Joy has a question. So what percentage would you use if you have land?
If You have land. You can still go with, if you wanted to go to 20% above and below. I have actually searched. If I've had 1 or 2 acres, I've gone up. If I can't find enough results, I've gone up 5 acres, 10 acres. I know that appraisers say after a certain amount of acreage, the value of that acreage is not as much as the first acre that you have. So it does adjust there. So it's a little more difficult when you're dealing with acreage, but they can go 20%, see if anything pulls up. If not, increase that acreage as you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we have our results. So now we're going to take a look at what we have and select what we want to use. So as I showed you before, at the top here in the middle section, if I go back to my split view, you can see again, here are all the properties as it loads here. Zoomed out way too far. Here we go. Get a little bit closer here too. So now you can see them. So it does automatically show what you've selected. Now, this map will show up on your comparable report. You can also unselect these down here, and as you do, and I'm just going to unselect one just to show you real quick, it's going to remove it from your map. So it actually, number one that I've unselected now will not show up in my map when I do my full report. So you'll see that in a second. But in order to find out which of these I want to use, I'm going to go back to my list again. I know it's very hard to see when I have my split view, but I'm going to show you how to open these up. So we're going to take a look at our first one. And right here where it says view detail report, so to the right of whatever number the comparable number is, you're going to click view detail report. And what it's going to do is open up the full report for you on this specific property. Now, what you'll notice is at the top here, right now it says 12 of 20. And this was number 12 of my comparables. And what it does show on the right here is it's included. So automatically, every one of these comparables are already check marked to include in your report. If you don't want them, you're going to uncheck them as you go. So when I'm running comparables in Paragon, as I run these, I'm going to open up each one. Usually I like to take a look at photos, read some of the remarks to see if it's been updated so I can compare it to my subject property. So if you notice, this one here is not showing a photo. And the reason it's not is because the last time this sold in 2021, it just recently sold, it looks like, it is tax records. It is not an MLS sale. So this is a for sale by owner. That's how you can tell the difference. There should be a photo here if it's been in the MLS. So this property sold for 181 and shows a sale date, and it's going to give me all the same information we saw in the very beginning when we opened up our subject property. So down here, it's going to give you location information, tax records, assessments and taxes for the last 3 years, any changes in their tax years, and then the characteristics of the property. And then as you go down further, it's going to give you your self-score, if it's been listed, which you can see here, there's no MLS records. Now I can see my market sales and sales history on this property. And it was the title company. Again, this was a for sale by owner. And you can see it was a warranty deed. And let's see if there's mortgage records. Here we go. And here's the mortgage records. And one thing you will also see in mortgage history is, in this one you don't have any, is foreclosure history. So if this property was foreclosed, you will see sheriff sale information on here as well under mortgage history. So again, I find this is very important information as you go. So with this property, if I decide I want to use this, I can continue to keep it with the arrow. And then what I can do is actually arrow through the rest of the property. So I would actually click the arrow, go to the next one, and allow that one to list all the information as well. This one is sold in the MLS. So you can see here, there's a sale price, MLS sale date, and there's a photo. If you click on the photo, and photos, it will open them for you. This one must not have additional photos, so it looks like just the first photos. And again, all the same information here as well. So if I decide I want to use this one, I can keep it. If I don't, I just uncheck it. So you can go through all of these again as you're running a comparable report. We're not going to go through every one just for the sake of time right now. But if you wanted to go through these, you can. Another way to go through these and select them is you can close this in the top right corner. You see there's an X here in the top right. Close your full report, takes you right back to your list, to your one-line report. And you can uncheck these right here on the left side of your screen as well. So looking at these, if I know price range that my listing is going to be a lot more than some of these have sold for, and I can actually drag this over and see it a bit closer. So I don't have to keep scrolling back and forth. But looking at my sale price, if I decide, these ones are way too low, I'm going to go ahead and remove these, then I can go ahead and uncheck whichever ones that I don't want to include. So for example, all these low ones, maybe I want to remove the 181, the 160, and so forth. So that's another way of removing the ones you don't want to use in your comparable report. Okay, so now we are set. We've selected what we want. We customized our search first. We found what we wanted. We've check marked to make sure they were all selected that we're using. I have 16 selected. Now we're going to create our report. So if you look to the bottom right of your screen, you have an area to generate reports, and then you'll have an option to print and email these reports as well. So let's go ahead and generate the reports just so you can see what it's going to look like for your client. And this may take a second. Okay, so as it opens up, the first page you're going to see is your map showing all the properties. And on the right side of your screen is your scroll bar, so you can just go ahead and scroll through this. It's going to give you your search criteria that you used, and then it's going to give you a summary. So it's going to break down those numbers for you. So here's my subject property. Here's the high, the low, the median, and the average. Sale prices, price per square foot, the characteristics, and so forth. Okay. Scroll down a little bit further. You're going to see one line report here. It's a column view. It's going to give you your subject property first, and then it's going to give you your comparables next to it. So as you can see, here's my first one. And as I scroll through it, you can see all the information. Now, if you notice here, you've got MLS sold price, sale price. If you see something in the MLS sale price, that means it was listed. So it did sell through one of the MLSs that was a listed property. If you see sale price, that it was, and there's nothing under MLS sold price, it was just sold as a for sale by owner. If you look here on the right, there's an arrow. So as you arrow, it's actually going to pull the next comparable for you. You should pull them for you to view them. Okay. So far, all of these I'm showing. So now, if you look here, you've got one that shows MLS sold price and a sale price. So there's a little bit of a change here. So this is something I would look at. A lot of times when you see the difference, it shows two different sale dates, but this is the same date. So it looks like there's discrepancy here. So somebody has incorrect information. So I would double check that one. You can find one that's just not sold in the MLS. I was looking for. I've been so it looks like the ones I think I unchecked the one that was just tax sale. So if you do see one that does not show MLS sold price, then you know it was only sold for sale by owner. And again, watch, where you see that there's a discrepancy between tax and MLS records. And again, a lot of times the tax records themselves have not been updated, or they finished the basement and there's a bathroom in there, and that obviously hasn't been included with tax records. It wasn't, you didn't pull a permit, whatever it might be. So you will see a change here with the difference. So again, just double check your information, make sure it's correct. So if all of this looks good, then we're going to go ahead and take a look at our next one. If for some reason you're not happy with anything that you're seeing here with the comparables you've selected, you can go back. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, it says Edit Report. So that just takes you back a step to where all the one-line report is. Then you can uncheck whatever you don't want to include or add in what you need to, and then generate your report again. And it'll take you right back. Let's go look at the rest of our report. At the very top of your screen, to the right of comparables, it says Market Trends. Go ahead and select Market Trends for me, please. So with Market Trends, it's going to give you some more statistical information. One thing you'll notice as you go through these sections is you'll have some with, in parentheses, it'll say tax, or it will say MLS. So if you see MLS, that means the information here shown is just pulling MLS records. If you see just tax, then it's pulling everything it's finding in tax records, which will show MLS data as well. So as you scroll down through these, this will give you zip code information, city, and then by county. So you can see 3 different maps. This might be something that your client would like to see. It might be something that they wouldn't. Again, it's up to you what you want to include. We'll be able to uncheck some of these sections as I show them to you if you don't want to include them in your report. So again, a lot of just stats in here as you go through it. If you go back to the top of your page again, to the right of comparables, we just looked at market trends. The next is neighbors. Go ahead and select your neighbors tab for me. Neighbors is going to pull right around the subject property, so the houses that are on the street around the subject. So as you see here, the black one here is the subject property, and then these are my comparables around it. What it's done is it's pulled all the neighborhood homes that I have selected. You have an area for default on this, and it has included those in my report. So in preferences, there's an area you can select how many of these neighbors you want to show, but it's pulling all their records. And if you scroll down further on your, oops, map. We're going to use your scroll bar on the right side of your screen. You're going to see all the neighbors right here. Now, what this does is it pulls the records no matter how far back it goes. So for example, this one here at 13632, the last sale date on this is 2007. So it's showing here 2007, it sold for 85,000. So it's going to tell you what the neighbors paid. And as I scroll for all these, no matter when the sale date was, so 2015, 2020, and so forth, 2009. It sold, actually, it was in MLS in 2009. They sold it for sale by owner in 2016. You can see the difference in the pricing. So that's what I was trying to show you earlier. You can see the difference of what is sold depending on fact records or MLS records. Okay, so again, if you want to include these, you can. If you don't have to. You have an area to modify how many of these you want to include as well. Back to the top of our screen, we have to the right of neighbors is neighborhood profile. So this is a little more, some more statistical information, but now it's about the neighborhood itself and not about sales and so forth. So what you're going to see here first, and again, this is something you may never want on your reports, or you may want to include it. It's up to you, but it talks about population in the area. It talks about the age of the residents in the area. It talks about gender, how many percentage is male, how many are female, their marital status. Again, I'm not sure it's something that my clients might want, but maybe if they're recently divorced, they'd like to see in the area if there's a lot of divorced in the area or a lot of single. I'm not sure. Again, this is has a lot of information. You can remove this whole section if you don't want to include it. The one things that it does include, it does talks about the summary of the sales prices in the property, what that median dwelling age was, stability of the residential turnover in the area, which I find is interesting. This I feel is really important. What percentage is vacant, rented, and what is owner occupied? Talks about fair market rents in the area, the quality of life. Again, I'm not sure if you need this. Blue collar, white collar workers, income. So commute method, the weather in the area. Again, a little more information than you might need, but I do like the school information. It does give you the schools in the area, how many students per teacher, what they're rated on schooldigger.com, how many students, which again, how the distances from the property itself. This could be good information. It's a family and they have kids. And it talks about the elementary, the public schools, the private schools. And then it shows local businesses in the area as well. Now you will be able to modify some of this information. The businesses and the schools can be modified as far as how many are included and what's being included. Okay, so those are the 4 sections. This is basically all you have for the report. So at this point, I can print this report. I can email this report. So if you look in the bottom left of your screen, start off with email. When you select this menu where it says email, you have 2 options. Quick emails means that it's going to select everything and create that email thing for you right away, and you can send that directly to your clients. Or I prefer to use customize. Customized email allows you to remove any section you don't want to include. So go ahead and select that. And if you want to email this to yourself, just so you can see what it looks like, it would be easier for you to explain to your clients if you've seen it. So in here, if I want to remove, for example, if I don't like the neighborhood profile, I can go ahead and uncheck that. If I don't want to include neighbors, I can uncheck that. For now, I'm going to include those just so you can see. You're going to select proceed. It's going to take a second here just to process all the pages if you'd like. And again, you don't have to email this. And when it does email, it does show it's coming from you. And it's complete. So now I can select add to email. The reply, it does show it's coming from my email address. I can send it to. Again, if you want to send it to yourself, you're welcome to. If you don't have to. You can CC it to anyone. You can blind copy it or copy it to yourself. Maybe there's another family member, someone else you want them to see the report as well. You can send that to. Subject property will be Realist report. You might want to change this and put on there, usually like to include area, something of that sort so they understand what it is. And then it tells you here the report was emailed to you it has my name. And then I do have an email signature line, which I'll show you in preferences. You can create this as well. And I can type in whatever information I want to put in here in the message and just send it. Okay. So if you want to send this to yourself, go ahead and put your email address up top and then select send. If you don't, again, just hit cancel. The other option is the print option in here. So if you look at the bottom left corner of your screen, maybe you're meeting with your client, you want to hand them the report itself, or I've had agents take sections of this report and include it in their Cloud CMA report. So again, you have different options with this. You can include whatever parts you like, whatever sections you want. You can adjust these sections as well, which I'll show you later. So let's go to print real quick. And again, same options, quick print, which prints everything, customize, which we're going to select. Now I can remove whatever I don't want to include. And again, inside the tabs is what we're removing. I'm going to select proceed. And the reason I'm selecting proceed, it's not going to print, it's going to create a PDF for me. And I'd like to show you what that PDF looks like, because this is what your client will see once they receive it. If you email them the report, or if you're actually handing them the report, but this is what it's in here. And it should download something for you. If you are on Firefox, it typically downloads on the top of your screen. If you are on, and again, if you are on Chrome, it's usually on the bottom left of your screen. So you should have a check mark somewhere to show the download's been completed. Here's my report. It's not too large, so I can just download it from the print, and then I can send an email directly from my own email address without going directly from Realist, and I can see that it's sent. And it's only 6.7 megabytes, so it's not too large where you can actually. I'm going to open up this report, and let's take a look at it. So it's 29 pages long, and over here you can actually click on each section to scroll through it. Let's look at the first section here is the subject property. So it's like that first detail report we saw, and it gives all the information about the subject property. So they're going to see the tax records, they'll see the market sales, they'll see the mortgage information. Again, if you don't want to include this, just uncheck it before you print it and create the PDF, or before you email it. And as you go through this, then you're going to get into the actual comparables, the property photos. This is the photos for my subject property, and this is one thing that I wish they could change in here. It shows all the property photos for my subject property, which is perfect. But when I show a report to my client, I want them to see the photos for the comparables as well, because that way they can see what's been done inside the house to compare it to their own home. And in this case, I only see a small picture of the front of the there's no interior photos here. So that is really the only downfall that I find in Realist. I really like everything else. It does include all the other information for you. It just does this column report side by side, and those individual photos is not included for those. As we go through this, and I get through all the comparables, I'm just kind of scrolling through this real quick so I don't take up too much of your time with this. Now I'm going into my stats. So now I went through my comparables. It's looking at the statistics, neighbors, and then the neighbor. So we did the neighbors already, and now we're looking at the neighborhood profile. So it's all the statistical information I showed you in those tabs. School information, it's going to give you businesses in the area, and so forth. Okay, so that's the report. Again, that was just a quick going through this really quick for you. I'm sure if you have your PDF, you can view it more later. I have so much more to show you in Realist, so I don't want to take up too much time with viewing it. But so just to recap that really quick, I'm going to close this out. So if you did open up a PDF, if you're somewhere where you have no idea where you're at, close your PDF, and let's go back to our page with our Realist. And if you can't find it for some reason, at the bottom of your screen, you should have it. It should have minimized down there somewhere. So just click on it. It should open up back up for you. So what I did, again, just to show you real quick to get to this point, is from Paragon, I'm going to click my tab. I use that red icon that pulled my property details information. And from there, I was able to select my comparables. And then I adjusted my search criteria if it needed to be adjusted. And then I actually created my report. You'll have generate report here. And then you can print and email it from here. So this is the first way to get into Realist and run a search. Now we're going to go into Realist, just opening up your Realist directly from Paragon and putting in a property address and running searches in there. And we'll take a look at the map as well. So I'm going to close my Realist real quick. You don't have to close yours. You can actually just click on Realist here in the top to your dashboard. That will take you to where I'm going. But just to show you where to find that shortcut to get to it, just so you know where to go next time, you're going to go into Paragon. You're going to go into your research folder. And I'm sorry, not research folder, your text folder. You're going to go to the second one down. It says Realist Text Search. So if you want to go directly into Realist from here and not go through a specific property, you're going to go to Taxes, Realist Text Search, and that's going to take you to your dashboard on Realist. And then we're going to make some changes in here for you once it loads. So I'll give this here. Okay, so once it loads, you're going to notice at the top here, you've got to the left side of your screen, you have these search criteria boxes. To the right of your screen at the top, you have a map. And under here, which is empty right now, is going to be my list. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do some modifications first on the search criteria boxes. And then once we do run a search in here, I'm going to actually show you some things in your map itself. So first thing on the top left of your screen, you can see here, I have multiple counties selected. Go ahead and select to the right of that change county. Now you can choose 8 different counties. Counties you have chosen are the ones that you're running a search on. So if you are running a search on a county that's not in your list, it's not going to give you results. So what you'll have to do is come back in here, select that county. If you have 8 already selected, remove one. Select the county that you're going through. It might be something that you normally don't have a property running in, or you're not, showing properties in. So for example, if I have all of a sudden something in Alpena, I may remove my Charlevoix, select my Alpena, and then I'm going to hit apply. So now I have an option to put in a property address that's in Alpena. If you don't have that search changed in your county, so you can have that option to select that county and run that search in that county, it will not show up. So please make sure you come back in here and make that change. What we want to do right now is select the counties that you normally work in, or ones that you might like to keep an eye on, or ones that you possibly might be working in. So you can select up to 8. So if you want to take a minute here and just go through, scroll through and find whatever counties you'd like. If you have counties on the left side of your, or I'm sorry, the right side of your screen selected, and you don't want to include them, there's an X to the right, and that will remove them. So again, if you have 8 in there, you're going to have to remove some, and then you can select whatever other county you want. So I'm going to take a minute to do this, and then we will go to the next. Okay, and actually I'm going to remove Alpena. I'm going to go back to Charlevoix because I don't do as much in Alpena. Once you have your county selected, go ahead and select apply in the bottom right corner of your screen. So I have your counties in here. Make sure, again, Macomb and Oakland, I'm sure most of you work in that area. Make sure that's in there, Wayne County, and all the others that you use, clear, of course. Apply. Now your counties are set and it is a default. So we will do the same thing for you next time, but you can still make a change here depending on what you're searching. You have 2 options here for tabs. You have a quick search, which is just like Paragon Quick Search. I can put in a couple different items in here. It's basically my address, owner name, an MLS number, or a property ID number, and run a search, and that's all I can do in here. I can't customize this. I can't make changes to this. So when I run searches in here, I always run them under my search tab. So a quick search, select my search, and now I'm going to have a lot more choices. So first thing here, you'll notice I've saved searches. So I can actually save these searches as I run them in here, just like you do in Paragon. So I can come back and load one of my searches that I've used prior instead of running it again. So I find this is important. You can customize the search, and that's what we'll be doing next, is go ahead and select Customize Search on the left here. And now I can go in and select what search criteria boxes I would like to use. So anything that you might need, you can have 30 boxes selected. When you open this up, it's a little overwhelming because there's a lot of information. So they do have tabs for you that'll break it down by section. So if you want, we're going to take a few minutes here and go through these tabs. Select any search criteria boxes that you might possibly need. You can modify this again, but right now we're going to go ahead and save this, and it'll keep it as a default for you. You look to the left side of your screen under categories. Right now we're on all. The next one down is owner information. So here are the options in here. Now, a couple things that I've selected, I like to use owner names. Sometimes I might have a call from someone that drove by my property, want more information. They tell me they have a property to sell. They don't give me the property address. Maybe now I want to run their name to see, where their current property is. You can also just run it by just their last name. I'm not able to select more, but you can. So if you don't have 30 selected, you can go in here and actually select additional. If you want their taxpayer address, that will show that obviously that it's a rental property, most likely. If you want to see if it's owner occupied or not, that information is in there as well. If you have 30 already selected and you're not able to do anything right now, go to the right side of your screen and go through this box here real quick. If there's something in here you're not going to search by or you don't really think you need right now, go ahead and just click the X and remove it. And that will open up an option for you to select another one. Okay. So if there's anything here you don't need, you can go ahead and remove it. Go back to the left side of our screen. The next tab down is geography. So I can run a search by address. I can run it just by the city, zip code, it's just a street name, subdivision, or I can even search them by zoning if I want. Everything that we see here is going to be in your actual report when you open it up. All this information will be there. Again, we're just putting in what search criteria boxes we would like. So we have an option to search by. Under geography on the left side, we have characteristics. So now I can select my square footage. If it has a basement, if it has a pool, mine has a pool on here, acreage, again, whatever you might need when you're running that search, you can put that information here as well. Go ahead and check those. Under characteristics on the left, we're going to go to listing information. I find this is important. If you want to run a search by recent solds by MLS, you can put that in here. I like to do MLS status. I might want to run expired because I want to run some mailers. Expired properties in here if I'd like. I like to use MLS status because I can select expired and then I can put my date in and then I can pull those properties. So any of these you'd like to include, go ahead and check mark those. The left again, under listing information is assessment and tax. I like to include my homestead, and the reason I do this is because I can see if it's a non-homestead, then it's most likely not owner occupied, and that will tell me if it's a rental property. I go to the left again, under assessment and tax, sales information. I do like to search by sale price, maybe sale type, and then also recording date. Back to the left of your screen, we're going to go to foreclosed and distressed. If you want to search distressed sales, this is where you can find them. You can go ahead and check that. If you want to see information about like the auction date, you can go ahead and select that. The last thing is mortgage information. If I want to search by a bank name, so for example, if I want to search everything that Chase Bank owns and as a foreclosure, I can go ahead and select lender name and I can run a search in an area and see what is foreclosed. We find those for properties. Okay, so this again, we just we took a look at what our properties are as far as not our properties, but our search criteria boxes. You have 30 options in here. You can modify this at any time. But at the bottom here in the bottom right, go ahead and hit save. You want to save this as a default for you, and then you're going to select apply. Once you select apply, this has now become your default, and you're going to use these same search criteria boxes. So now it should have loaded again, and it's going to include whatever boxes you selected off your list. So again, you can change this anytime, just hit that customize search, or you can just modify just for that specific search. And if you do, you're going to select apply, not save. That will apply for just that search, and it won't save it as a default. When you fill these out, for example, for an address, if you want to run a search on an address, I'm going to go ahead and put a property address in here. You just type in the property address. Let's do actually my property again here, 13644. And you can use this if you want to run a search. I would try on your own house. If you don't have a specific property you want to run one on, property address in here and run search right from here. Any other criteria you put in here, it's going to run it with that. So if I put the property address in here and I select MLS status, then it's only going to find it if I have active. So if you start filling this in and nothing's pulling up, clear this out. You have a clear all, and it will remove all of your search criteria boxes, any information in them, and then you'll have a clean slate. So sometimes I find if I'm running a search and I add something else and I go back and forth, and it keeps giving me, it tells me that there's no results, then what I do is I clear this whole section and then I run my search again. Okay, so right now I just put a property address in, and you can put the city in if you'd like. And then you can run search here. When you run the search, you're going to see my map now has moved and zoomed into the property itself. And then under my list, I actually have the property address in here. So to find out more information about this, I can double click and open this up and I can read all the detailed information about it. So it's going to give me my full property detail report, just like we saw in the beginning. So when we click on that icon on Realist, this is giving you the same information. You can see at the top, I have an option for comparables, and then I can walk through the same steps we did earlier. If everyone's comfortable with this, I'm just going to go back and then I want to get into the map itself. But again, you can do the exact same thing we did earlier. I'm going to go back. So my back button here in the top left. Okay, that. And we're going to go back to our map view and list and our search criteria boxes. So again, this is how you run a search in Realist without going directly from that link and that icon in Paragon. So now I want to get into the map and I want to get into labels. So if there's no other questions at this point, is there anything, Debbie, before I move on?
I had one a minute ago from Joy.
Okay.
So she was wondering about the differences in using the Realist CMA compared to a Cloud CMA. And when would you use this report instead of Cloud?
Okay. So the difference between this CMA report, the main difference is that Cloud is only pulling MLS records. So it had to have sold in the MLS in order for us to see those properties. If you search in Realist, you're pulling for sale by owners, and you do not get that information in Paragon. So I find that this is great to use if you are trying to find comparables and you're getting very few results, or your client says to you, I know the one down the street, I know it's up for sale and it sold for this price and we can't find it anywhere. Well, it probably was a for sale by owner. In here you will find it. So again, you can use sections of this. So I like Cloud CMA because it does include all the photos for every one of my comparables if I choose to include them, where this does not. You're going to see that small little photo, front view photo of the property itself, and then it's going to give a column view of all the information. So that's all they're seeing. So it's limited in that aspect. So it has an upside too. You do get those tax records, but the downside is you're not going to have as nice of a report as Cloud CMA. So sometimes I'll do the Cloud CMA and I come in here and I just pull my for sale by owners, and then I can add that into my Cloud CMA report, because in Cloud you can add custom reports. So I can actually upload that right into Cloud itself and just include those right in my reports. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so let's go into our map, because there's a lot we can do here in our map. We can run all kinds of searching in our map. And the main thing that helps with running these searches is that you can run labels. So when this house sells, which it's actually, I did receive an offer on it. Once it's sold, I can run just sold flyers or postcards, and it doesn't cost me anything to do those labels. I know there's a lot of services out there to run labels. These run them for free for you. So we're going to walk through running some searches on that map and then seeing those results and actually doing labels on here. So I'm going to actually minimize a couple of things. I'm going to show you how to do that on your screen so it's easier to view the map. So if you look on the left side, again, here's your search criteria boxes. And at the top here, it says the multiple counties, change county, and there's arrows. What this arrow does is it closes that search bar for you. So it just minimizes it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that first. I want a large map here. When you're running searches, your results show up on your map, but they also show up in your list here. And if you look at the top right of your screen, you have a split view, which is what we're viewing right now. Map view is just the map. And then you have the list. So that just shows this one line report here. So we're going to go ahead and close your list and just have a map view, because the larger the map, I find it's easier for you to draw on and go through the different. I'm going to go ahead and select map. And you can always toggle back. Again, you can go back to split. And if you need your search criteria box, which you will to see those one-line reports once you've found what you want, then you're going to go ahead and expand that search bar. And what it does is it actually creates a magnifier. You're going to open up that magnifier and it takes you right back in here. Before we do anything, I'm going to go ahead and clear all, so that way I don't have anything on my map. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. Okay, so let's take a look at your options here. On the top left of your screen, you have a pencil, and this is going to be your drawing tool. So in Paragon, when you draw those tools, you have three options. You actually have three options here as well. So go ahead and select your pencil in the top left corner. The first one is your radius tool, which is just a circle. I find I don't use this one as much, but with radius, just like in Paragon, you click in the center of the area that you're searching. So if you want to zoom in or zoom out on your map, you look to the right side of your screen and you have a plus and minus. I'm going to minus this just to take it out a little bit here, so I can make a little bit bigger map for you. And that way you can see as I'm drawing. And then you're going to click on the center of the area you would like your comps, or what, I'm sorry, not just your comps, anything that you'd like to draw on here as far as the map goes. You're going to go through the center, you're going to drag your mouse out, and you're going to create a map. You can see it's going to create a circular map, and you can go as far as you want or as small as you want. So when you click on it again, it creates it. And if you notice, I've got dots on the exterior of my circle. These allow you to adjust the size. So if I draw this on, I'm like, oh, I need a little bit bigger. I can now make it larger. I can also rename it. So now I can name it whatever it might be, Copart listing, or school areas, or, whatever it might be that I'm trying to show on here. And you can actually move. This is the only one of the three maps you can actually move. So once I have it the way I want it, there's a dot in the center. You can left click. I can actually move this wherever I'd like it. The other two maps do not allow you to move it. So if it's not in the area that you want, you'll have to delete it and then draw it again. Okay, so once you have your shape on here, if you don't want it, you can delete it. I'm going to leave it for a second just to show you your maps. So I'm going to go back to my pencil tool again, top left of your screen. The next one down is your rectangle tool, and I find I use this one and the polygon the most. They're just like Paragon. So again, your rectangle tool first. You're going to click on that. You should have a little plus sign here. You're going to go to whatever corner of the area that you're searching. So for example, if I want a map running through this section here, Masonic to Shaner and back over, I'm going to start off up here, left click. I'm going to go diagonally, and you can create either a square, a rectangle shape, go far out or as short as you want. You want to get within these streets, you just click on it again, and it creates it. Now, you'll notice I have my circles running around. I also have them in the center, so I can resize it by pulling the side. I can resize it by pulling the edges. I cannot move it. If you notice, looking at these, my circle has a dot in the center. My square does not. So if you don't want this one, you will have to delete the shape. So you have to click on it and delete it. Okay, so that's your rectangle tool. That's your radius tool. So let's move over here a little bit. We're going to draw our polygon. In Polygon, if you go to your pencil in the top left, Polygon tool, again, just like Paragon, you're going to draw multiple lines to create a shape, any shape you'd like. So this is great if you're trying to get around an area. So maybe I have a section I'm searching, but in the center of there's some mobile homes, or there's new construction in there, and I want the older homes. So I can draw around it. So I'm going to go to my pencil, top left, go down to your Polygon tool, find the street wherever you want to start. So I'm drawing lines. So here's where my listing was on Copart. I'm going to select it. I should have a little plus sign here. Click on it. Now you can notice it's just a line. So I want to go up here. So maybe I want to go around the Sonic curves here a little bit. Every time I want to change the direction of my line, you're going to click. So I'm going to go up here. So maybe I'll go a couple streets up. I'm going to come here. I'm going to come back to Marathon. We're going to go back around where Copart was. Bring it down. Your start point is your end point. So wherever I started, that's where I'm going to click, and that's going to create it. So now I have this, whatever shape it is, and I can adjust it. So as you notice now, I've got dots multiple going through every side and obviously every corner. So every time I click, it created a dot because now I can use that one to adjust my shape. So if I want to go from the corners, I can. So again, you can modify this whatever's needed. In order to get results on these shapes, you're going to have to hit your search. So if you want to see the results, we'll have to open up. You would open up then at this point your criteria box and hit search. But we're gonna do some other things on here before we actually see some results. Okay, so those are your shapes. If you don't want these on here, you're going to clear. Clear all will clear anything you've done within these icons here on the left. You can also go each one individually and click on them. Oops. Property. Let me create another one here. On your shape, hit delete. Click on your shape and then hit delete. So if you want to remove any of these, it also allows you to hit search from here. So I can actually run a search here from as well, instead of going to my criteria box, and then I can go to split view and view those results, but I'm going to delete this. Okay, so those are your drawing tools. The next one to the right of that, if you go to the next one, we're going to look at boundaries. So boundaries has different options in here for you. You should most likely see your parcel. And the reason your parcel is in here by default, it should be selected. If it's not, I'll show you in preferences where you can select this. The reason I like parcel is because you're going to zoom into your page. You can see all these lines. These are parcel lines for every one of these properties. So the nice thing about having these is that I don't have to draw anything to find out information about any property. If I know this property here, I need more information on at the corner of Bunnard and Murtham, I can just click on this box. It will give me owner information, photo of it, tells me what the MLS records are, last sale date. It gives me a magnifier so I can do a quick zoom on it. What it does is zooms into the property. This will give me the dimensions of the lot. I love this part because if you are working with acreage or vacant land, especially if it's in a regular shape, this is even better. Or if you've got a property that's got, an irregular shape to it, this will give you those dimensions. And you can use this on your listing if you wanted to. You can actually print this report, or you can do a screenshot of it, include this in your report itself, in your actual listing report. Also, when you click in this, you have an option to see the MLS listing. So if it is listed by the MLS or was listed by the MLS, this does not have one. It's supposed to take you into the actual MLS record. So if it does have one, it should show it for you. I know. The camera is going to give you property photos. So if I want to see those photos, I think earlier I tried to show you on one that didn't have them. This is where I can scroll through and see all the interior photos, exterior, any additional that they have in here. You can actually print these photos right from here as well. X. And I can also create a transaction right from here. So this will allow me to take this property into transaction desk, and I can do a listing, or I can do an offer, whatever it might be. If I want to see the full report on this, I can hit property. Now I can see that property detail report. Here's all the information, just like we did with the other two as we pulled them open. And then you can run comparables and do everything that we did as we did earlier. Okay, so I'm going to hit back. There's a back in the top left, right back to my map. And I'm going to close this out. So again, parcel lines are very helpful, because there's been times I've had a client tell me that the house 2 doors down just sold, but she can't find it anywhere. Well, she doesn't know the property address, and I don't happen to be by there. So I can come in here, I know where her property is, and I can go 2 houses down and click on it and find it. So it is helpful to have these parcel lines. Let's look at our boundaries again. So you have options for neighborhood lines, zip, city, county, school district, and so forth. This is really nice if your client says to you, my daughter's at Utica High School. I'm not pulling her out of her high school, so I need a house that's in the same school district. Utica is not as difficult. You have school of choice. If she doesn't want to deal with school of choice, then you have to do something like this, where you can see what houses are within Utica High School. But it might be somewhere where you have to have, you have to live in the city, where, like Troy, his example, Grosse Pointe. If you do not live in the city, you cannot, there's no school of choice. There's no option for that. If I select high school, I'm going to zoom out. One thing you'll notice here is you're selecting certain things like boundaries. You might have to zoom in or zoom out if you don't see results. So I'm going to zoom out, because obviously I'm right into the street and houses, and there's not going to be any schools where I'm at. Go out further, you can see a purple line is coming on. It's going to take a few minutes. And here we go. So, for example, here's the first one. We got Cousino High School right here. I can see exactly what streets are included within that high school admission. So if I want to make sure that they have an option to send their kids to Cousino High School, which they have school choice anyways, but if I want to stay within that area and they want to be within that area, then I can see exactly what streets and what properties. Okay. So that is under boundaries. So you can, it's not just high school. You can do elementary, middle, the districts themselves. You can also see the counties. You can see flood zones. So what it does is actually will shade your page. And if you look down here at the very bottom, it gives you a code. It gives you like a little key code here of what the colors are. We're in Warren, so there's really no flood zones here. But if we go a little bit more north, you can see there's quite a few flood zones. So these are coming from FEMA. All right. And it's under boundaries in the top left of your screen. So I'm going to go back up to the top left. When you have things selected again, I like to remove them. So I'm just going to remove my flood zone. I always keep my parcel in there. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. To the right of that, we got points of interest. Sales, property sales information first. So let's look at property and sales. First thing is distressed properties. If I want to see what is bank owned or what is short sale right now, I can, or even auction, I can check mark these. And you can see they've got a color icon. So if it's an auction, it's yellow, bank owned is green, purple for short sales, and if it's a bank REO sale, it's blue. So you may not see anything right away on your screen. So what you can do, and this is one thing I do like with Realist, I can move my map. As I move my map, whatever selections I have, it will try to load them for me. And your little code is down here at the bottom to tell you what each color is. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Sometimes it takes a few minutes for these to load, so I'll give it a second. If you don't see it loading, try to zoom in or just move your map. So something bank owned around. I can't imagine we have nothing bank owned right now. Hopefully there isn't much, but I'm sure there's something. So Got anything else popping up here? I'm going to zoom in again and see if anything else pops up. And it looks like here they come. Yeah, again, it does take a while. There's quite a few here. These are short sales. Wow. I had no idea we had this many short sales. Okay, there's quite a few here. So what you can do, again, having those parcel lines is very helpful. Click on the icon itself. It's going to do the same thing. So I can click on that icon. And you can see here, and it shows that it's saying that this was a short sale and who the owner is currently. Again, same options. You can see the reports on it as well. And I thought there was something in here that showed, zoom out again for a second. I want to look for a bank owned in here, bank sale. And again, moving this takes a second to load, but the icons start popping up as you go. And it looks like a lot of short sales. Nothing really bank owned over here, which is good. So you may have something on your screen. Again, if you do see any of those icons that you want, you can just
Hey,
go ahead and
Lisa,
click on it. Yes.
those are active short sales, correct? Or were they within the last amount of months?
These should be showing whatever the last sale date and when it was a short sale. So this may not be active. So again, like this one was not listed. So this was a sale price in 2009. And it looks like it's not showing any MLS records for it. And it was saying it was a short sale.
Okay.
So this would have to actually go. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then Mary also had a really good question. Okay, so what if you want to search properties in a city, but wanted to stay far away from an adjoining city? For example, search homes in Waterford, but want to be far away from Pontiac. What's the best way to do that?
Okay. So for the city, I would draw the map, or you can also use your boundaries for the city. And then you can draw your map that way. I find it's probably easier to do it that way because you can draw around things, or you can just put the city name in, which would probably be the easiest. So if she just wants Waterford, I would just put in Waterford, and then you can run everything in Waterford, and then you can put in, the bank owned. So you have to do this search criteria box, adding additional criteria that you want to search by. So for example, if you've got in here, I've got Waterford in here, and I've got short sale selected, but let's hit search. Okay, well, they're showing more than 1,000 results in Waterford for properties, but that doesn't mean that they're short sales. So let's refine this search a little bit. That's why I'm saying drawing the map is probably going to be the easiest for her, but let's go ahead and put on here. This person, let's see that. Okay, let's do, I should have, here's distress sales. I kept distress sales in here. Let's do short sale. I wonder if I have an option here for it. I like to do a closing date or recording date. Let's go back this way. That might be an easier way to go because again, it's going to pull. Say we go back to November. Sure. So it's going to give me a limited search. There are no results based. So last November, it's not showing anything for short sale, and it should be loading my short sales in here as well. Again, it's going to show what's on the map. So you're better off drawing, and I'm thinking it's going to be the best way for her to get her results. Let's do the 1 second here. I want to do my city. Okay. Go into whatever city. So you can see the lines are coming in here. Give me 1 second. And let's find a smaller area because these areas are going to be really large. Let's do Clawson because it's a very small area. And this is why I can put these boundaries in because then I can go to my drawing tools. I can do a polygon tool. I can draw right over that map. So I'm pulling just Clawson. There we go. And now I can remove all this. I don't need any of this now. Let's see from here. I'm going to hit search just to pull everything down. Let's see if it lets me pull without. Let's run this search. Search. Okay. So zoom in. Okay, bear with me here so I know what I need. I'm going to remove some of the other things because again, with all these lines here, it gets confusing. So now since I did draw, I don't need my city. So let's remove that because it's confusing. So I still have my short sales, bank owned, auction, everything selected here. So now in Clawson, again, small area, you can see they're popping up. So these are within my map. So now you can search within just your map and select these properties to see what information. You're going to have to zoom in though to get to them because it's a little hard to select when you're that far out. So that I can pull information on this property. A bit more here. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's giving me a hard time. I'm sorry. I'm trying to click too fast and this does not want to agree with me. But again, the idea is once you've got your map on there, now I can select those properties. Now I lost my class, and here we go. But you should be able to select it within that, the same thing. So once you click on it, it'll open it up for you. Does that answer the question? Does that help at all?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Alrighty, so let's take a look at the rest of our tools. So I am going to clear all. I am going to clear all again. And I don't want to confuse it for you. Let's close this out. I'm actually going to go back because I cleared my parcel. So I'm going to go ahead and put my parcel back in. That was the second one under boundaries. Okay, so we did look at the distress. Now, one thing I did want to show you in here that we didn't get to, under distress properties, I can see them by a certain date back. So this might be helpful too if you're looking for expires, if you're running expires in the area. If you select expired, and if I want to look for the last 3 months, and then you can also include a few characteristics. I'll show you this one in a second because it gets confusing when I draw that on there as well. So I just want 3 months back for expired, and let's see if anything pops up. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, see if anything comes up here. Oh, so these are expired within the last 3 months. Now, if you are running expireds, please make sure you double check to make sure these aren't in the MLS and they're not active now. It's showing that there was an expired listing, but it possibly could be listed. This looks like it might be a business, but it's showing nothing in the MLS records here, but I always do double check Paragon just to make sure. Look at up to the other one right here. See if I'm selecting the right one with these parcel. Okay. This one, it looks like am I on the right one? I want to make sure I'm on the right one. Let's see. This out. Okay, I'm on here. So this one shows that it was sold in 2017. So it might be expired after that, but it's showing the last sale date is 2017. Okay, and you can pull the link right here for the record, and you can always just go back to Paragon. I usually will just copy. I can typically I'll just do that and just run a search on it. Control C to copy it, go to Paragon, I can drop it up here, and now I can look for this. Here they are. So it shows there's been expireds right here. So here's the expired one, and it looks like this is the last one that's sold by the number. I'm saying this is probably the last one that's sold. So again, if you're running expired, just make sure it hasn't recently or it didn't go active again, because it might have expired, but there might be an active listing too. So you might want to include expired and active at the same time to see if 2 of them show up in the same area. Then you will know that it's also active as well. And you can act as well. Okay, so that is running it by expireds and active by MLS status. I'm going to uncheck these real quick. The last thing on here I want to show you in this section, property characteristics. This will actually give you whatever information you select. So I know some people will look at your actual property ID number, your APN. This is very confusing. I mean, you can select this. It actually puts it on every property you're viewing. So these are all your property ID numbers. One thing that I like here, maybe you can't remember the owner's name or your neighbor's name down the street. I can select that, and every property will show the last name of that owner. You can zoom in, obviously, and see these.
Hey, Lisa, I got a real detailed question here.
Okay.
Okay, what if you just want even address numbers on a street? So I guess that would be the one side of the street, correct?
And so if it's even, it's going to be one side. So at that point, you'll want to draw a map. It's going to be too hard to determine. You know, there's very
just a map.
Yeah, I would draw the map, because honestly, looking at this, you're not going to have any idea. But I can click on this right now, and I can see this is an even. So now I can just draw my map around those, and I can get just the even side. So the map is very detailed. You can draw it to whatever you want. You can draw it to just 2 houses, 3 houses, 1 street, 1 side of the street, whatever you'd like. But when you do this, which we'll go back to after I go through the rest of the icons, I can then select my labels, and I can print labels for just what I have selected in that map. So just the even number or just a couple houses or whatever it might be. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, so let's take a look now at the rest of our icons. So I'm going to zoom out. We're going to remove those last names again. It gets very confusing with everything popping up in here in the map. So to do that, again, back to the top, property and sales, down to the very bottom section, property characteristics, and I'm going to select none. Okay, if you leave any of these on, or if you don't hit clear all when we close this, they'll probably show up the next time you log in here. So if you find things are popping up and you can't understand why, just hit your clear all. It will take it all off for you. Okay, so let's go to the next one down. Right, we're going to do property trends. This will actually highlight your map and give you percentages. So, for example, if I want to see the number of homes in foreclosure and on the map that I'm viewing right now, and when you select all of these, it's showing whatever you're viewing on the map, and that's why when you move your map, new results. So if I hit number of homes in foreclosure, and this opacity scale will darken or lighten it. So if I want it, lighter or darker, I can. But if you look at the bottom here, it should tell you, so less than 25, there's less than 25 in this area. So there isn't any, and that's a good sign. Good mark. So I'm going to hit none on that. If I go down, you can do it by zip code and neighborhood. You can also select condo, single family residence, or both. So depending what your trend is, what you're looking for, sales activity, again, if I wanted both, I would come in here and select both. And then it will show me here. It just gives you, like I said, you here, depending on the shading color. So it says that sales activity is between 25 to 50 here. All right. So that's all that does. That is your trend levels and trend different options here. So I'm going to select none again, get rid of our shading. And we're going to go to the next one, which is these binoculars, points of interest. So if I'm looking for schools, for example, select education, and your graduation cap should pop up. Click on those. And so this is a music academy. Lanphier High School is right here. So as you click on them, you can locate the schools this way. Okay, so let's remove education and go to the next one. This is driving information, directions. So I could do driving directions from their house, maybe from their house to the house that they're potentially looking at, maybe to the school, or from a house that they really like and they want to know how far is the distance to their work. I can put that in here too. It gives them driving directions and distance. Your map. So I can locate on the map. So when you come in here and you want to draw on your map, or you want to run one of these trends or boundaries or whatever it might be, and I want to relocate my map, this is how you do it. I don't have to sit and drag this map back and forth. I can just put in a zip code. Go to 48313, Sterling Heights, select that, and now it's going to open up the map to that zip code. If I want a specific property, when I'm running, comps or whatever it might be, the listing back in here, there's Colpart, I can select that. Now it's going to move it to that location. So you can run it by a zip code, by an address. I should be able to run it by street name. So let's do Warren, and there it goes. It relocates it for you. So to move your map, you want to look for this little map icon, and that will relocate it wherever you'd like it to be. And again, you don't have to use a full address. Like I said, zip code works just as well. Right. Okay. You do need to select, sorry. You need to select what the drop-down menu is when it comes underneath. Okay, so that is how to relocate your map. To the right of that, this is your ruler. The ruler will give you, you're basically measuring a lot. So for example, if I zoom in my parcels, parcel lines, the ruler, going to actually, let's see. For this one, you're going to click on the mouse, but then you're going to release it from whatever your start to finish point is. I just want to make sure I have it selected. So for example, if I want to see the distance from this street to here, let's see. 1 second here. So it's supposed to work here. There's my plus. So I want to click from this area. Let's go to here. There you go. And That's supposed to give you your measuring tool, and it's supposed to give you the length. So that's 1,308 feet. Honestly, not sure how if you would use this much. I typically don't use that line. I'm more concerned about my parcels. If a parcel is not showing up and you want this total square footage on it, you could use that to draw around a property. Oops. So get your feet on this. So 433 feet is my total length on this. Again, I'm not sure how much you would use this, but it is an option there for you. So we are going to remove it. I don't need that anymore. Put my go back boundaries and the parcel back in, and we're good. The only other thing you have in here is the annotation tool. What it does is does a bubble basically for you that you can type in, so you can put in like a pin on an area, and I can type in my annotation tool. Oops. Let's put it out here. There it goes. Okay. And then I can make a note on here for my clients. So maybe I want to let them know this is, this is the subject property. This is, the house you're looking at. Interested in, I guess. And then maybe I can do another one by the school and show them the distance. They can kind of see where the school is compared to where the house is. Again, I'm not sure exactly if you would use this. I have not used it myself, but it's another option for you. Okay, so those are all of our tools for our map. Now, what I'd like to do is I want to pull some houses. I just sold a house on the street. I want to run just sold, or I want to just send a flyer to an area. I want to do some mailers. So let's take a look at that. Is there any questions though before that about the map itself, or anything I showed you you'd like me to show you again?
All right, looks like we're okay, unless someone's still typing. I can't tell.
Okay, well, I will take my time drawing the map, and then I can still show it to them. The map will still be open. But what I would like to do is we're going to open up our split view, because we want to see results now, because we're actually going to run an area and get some labels going. So the top here, right side of your screen, again, you've got your split view. Let's go to our split view. That way we can see the results. And then if you need your map a little bit bigger, you can zoom in and zoom out here. But let's go ahead and find a property, and you can draw around it and pull those properties for labels. So I'm going to go ahead and relocate. So if you go to the top left of your map, so for example, my listing on Copart sold. Now I want to send out mailers. So I'm going to put in the property address. There it is. Then I have it located there. And I want to take their street and send out mailers to everybody on her street. So I'm going to more here. And we're going to go to our drawing tools. So go back to your pencil, top left of your screen once you have some selection. I would definitely zoom in. You don't want to go too far out, because then you're going to have a lot of labels popping up, and we want to make sure we get closer to the area that you want. Go to your pencil tool. I'm going to use my polygon. And I am going to start over here at the top. So this house is across the street from her. I'm down her street, back around street. I'm going to go back up hers and back to my beginning point. So polygon tool again, start point is your end point, and I just drew around her houses there, the blue dot. I drew to get all of these properties in here. I click on this map. Oops. And why relocate? No. Come back to delete it. Sorry, I just relocated my map for. I like to click too much, which is not always a good thing. So, oops, come on.
Oh. Yeah, I have a question while you're working on that.
Sure. There it is.
So Sue asks, what are the bank real estate owned sales? Are they active on the other map results?
So on here, are they active?
I think. We'll wait till she clarifies.
Okay, because if it's bank, if it's showing bank foreclosure, most likely they're going to be sold properties, but it could be showing up. But see, there's bank owned and bank sold. So I believe it will show. If you do lender name, that's going to show you everything that's owned by a bank, whether it's sold or active. If you go by the bank, the foreclosures, those have been foreclosed on, and they should have been sold. That's why I included lender name, if you notice, under my search criteria. So if I just want to pull anything that's owned by a bank, whether it's active or it's sold or it's not even listed yet, lender name will help you there. Okay, so that helps.
Oh, let's see. Which ones are the active, but actively on the market?
Yeah, so activity, not necessarily any of them might not be active. It's saying they're either foreclosed, that means they're bank owned, it could have been sold, or if they're foreclosed, they're active, or they're foreclosed and the bank is not doing anything with them, they're sitting on them, which we see happen quite frequently. So you'll have to actually open those up and take a look at them. You'll want to open those listings and click on them as you're opening up those foreclosures, and you'll be able to see if it's listed with the MLS, if it's been sold, when that date was. You can always go back to Paragon and take a look at it too and run a search in there as well.
Thank you.
No
Yep,
problem.
that was good.
Okay, good. Okay, perfect. So here is your shape. I'm going to hit search, shape, and there they are. So these are all the properties that pulled. Now my line wasn't perfect, as you can see, so it did pull some in the next street over because I didn't get right on their line. Just zoomed in a little bit more to get, but if I want to use those, which is just a street behind them and on both sides, I can. If I don't, your list is now below, and I can actually just uncheck whatever I don't want. And sometimes you'll end up with properties that are commercial. So right now I've got this one in Shaner, which I don't want to send a mailer to about, just sold in the area. Do they want to sell their house? Obviously it's not a house. So I'm going to find that one on Shaner right here, and I'm going to uncheck that. I don't want to include that in my mailer. Looks like I got a couple of them in there. Looks like there's one more in here too. So you can see the property addresses, and you can just go back in and remove. Right here's my other building. Okay, so I got those out. To create the labels, very simple. Right underneath here, where you see your one-line report, you're going to select labels. When it opens up, it gives you an option of what type of labels you're using. If you are sending mailers, typically your regular address label is this 5160. It doesn't have to be specifically an Avery. Most of the ones that are out there that are off-brand, they're going to be the 5160. They're 30 labels per sheet. So we should run about this. So you're going to want to click on that. Mixed letter use is whether I want it using caps and lowercase, or do I want all caps? Well, I don't like using all caps. So you're yelling at them. So if you want to use mixed case, you can, but you can choose to use the capital letters as well. Tax billing address is what I would like. If you use the property address and it's not owner occupied and they have a tenant, they're going to throw that in the garbage. So I would suggest using your tax billing address so it is getting to the owner. Do you want to see the current owner? Do you want a foreign address? I usually don't want to mail something if it's out of country. Do you want to eliminate duplicate labels, which you might want to do that? Do you want to create a custom label? So you have options for any of these for your label itself. You can use all the remaining to export. So I can export certain numbers. So if I have, it shows there's 105 and I only want the first 50, I can go 1 to 50. You are allowed 5,000 labels per month. Now, I don't know many agents that send out 5,000 mailers, but there may be, but it's definitely not me. I don't have time for those. But you're allowed 5,000. So every time you hit create, it's going to deduct it for the month off of there. So don't create them until you're ready to print them, and then create them. If you want them just to have them in a list, then what I usually do is I will export them. Customize export. You can select what you want exported. So if I want to include whatever information, I got to go through these and see what I have in here. It should be just the address. So let's find the address, but you can customize what you want included in here. So I can select owner name, the address, anything else you want to be included, if it was sold, any of this information. And then what it does is it will create a CSV for you and do an Excel spreadsheet. So if you are sending the mailers, you can come in here and export them so you have a copy of what you did, and then you can make notes by it. So that's another thing that I usually export it. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to close on my export here, and we'll go back here. So again, labels are down here, export is here. You can also print or email this information as well. Any questions about doing labels? Are we doing okay?
We'll see if one comes in here. And remember, the cheat sheet on how to do labels is in it's under that Realist tax search handout. I don't think it's not as detailed as how Lisa goes through the mapping on there. I love the way you do the mapping, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks. I just find it, when you're running just sold, you're targeting specific areas, specific properties. So, and then I don't want to get things that are, commercial properties or something active. That's another thing. Be careful when you're going through these. If you notice here, there is a dot for red. The red are sold. Green is active. If it's currently active, you probably don't want to be sending a mailer to them. This property is right here. Yeah, which is my property, so that's okay. But if there is so much for that, so then you can just uncheck them. It's that simple. Just uncheck what you don't want to include.
Thank you. And there's no questions about the mailers at this minute.
Great. So we went through quite a bit. I do want to go into our preferences. So if there's no other questions about the map or the mailers or anything else you need me to show you again, I'll take you into preferences. We'll set up some of your defaults and then we'll be all set. I can answer any other questions at that point. Okay, so let's look at our preferences because you have a couple options in here that we can modify. For example, like your search criteria box, we can go in and modify that and make it a new default for you. So if you look at the top of your screen, on top right, you have a gear. So you should say your name, you got a star. This is for things that you mark your favorites. You've got the gear, and then you've got questions that actually is a help area for the Realist as well. So let's start off in the gear, and you've got 4 tabs we're going to walk through. The first one is your search options. So let me go through these and explain them, and then you can decide which ones you want to include. What we're doing right now is setting up defaults. So anything you want to change again, just go back to that gear and you can adjust it later. First thing is navigation to report. So when you find one property as a result, do you want it to open up as a 1-line report, or do you want it to open up that full property detail report? I like seeing the 1 line and then I can select it, because if it's not the correct one, I can run my search again, or if I wanted to see it, then at that point I can double click and open up that property detail report. So again, if you would like it to automatically open up as that full report, you just check mark this. Mailing labels. Do you want to see labels that are not on the do not mail list? So I believe they'll say do not mail, or they'll have something on there about it. But if they are registered under do not mail, as of right now, if this is unchecked, they're not included when you're running a map and then doing your labels. So if you want to include them, you need to check mark this. Do I want to include unmatched sales transactions? So what that means is, with my search criteria that I put in, do I want to see results that are not falling in within the criteria I have filled in when I'm running a search? I don't. I want to see what the criteria I put in. And if I don't have results, I want it to say I don't have results, and then I can modify it the way I would like to. Again, it's up to you. Okay, search results. You can have up to 3,000 listings pop up when you run a search. I have mine as 1,000, which is quite a bit as it is. But if you, again, it's whatever you want to see in that 1-line report. So you can modify this whatever you like. Okay. So to the top left of your screen again, under search, we have reports. So let's go to our reports next. So what we just did, we'll save. So it's no worries. We're going to hit a final save a couple times in a minute. When you receive your property detail report, you have 2 options. You have fixed and dynamic. Fixed means that every search criteria box that you open up is going to show whether there's information in that box or there isn't. So for example, if it has square footage on there and they're not showing any information on the square footage, then it will show square footage and it'll be an empty box. If I select dynamic, that means anything that doesn't have criteria, there's nothing to fill in those boxes, will not show up in my report at all. So if there's square footage and there's nothing showing for it, square footage will be removed completely. I like to have my fixed only because if something's missing on there, I can see what's missing. Or, the information I'm getting from Realist, because then I can go search it somewhere else. But again, it's up to you, fixed or dynamic. Your comparable reports. You have an option to have up to 50 comps pull up when you're running that. When you select comparables, 50 will automatically show up to 50. I have 20 selected. If you want more, just click on whatever you'd like to see. Under your comparables, we have our sort method. So mine is set up for default. Anything that's closest in square footage shows up at the top of my comparables. If you don't want to include it that way, you can include it from anything that's closest to the subject property, whatever was the most recent sale, by the sale price, or by the square footage is what I have. So again, whatever choice you would like to see the sort. Like I showed you earlier, it's an Excel spreadsheet basically. You can double click on any one of those headers and it will resort it in that order for you. Do you want to include property images? Absolutely. I like to include my images. Again, the only option I have is all the interior photos for my subject property, and then any other property I select for comparables, you're only going to see that front view, but I do want to include as many photos as I possibly can. Do you want to include the value that's projected by the assessment or by the square footage? Again, these are some automated values and your real AVM. If you don't, just toggle these off. So what we're doing right now is a default. So again, you'll have to come back in and make changes, or the next time you're doing a search, you'll hit that search criteria box and make these changes again, then save it as a default. Please make sure your data source is both, because honestly, at the end of the day, if you're running comps and you're only getting MLS records, then to run comps in here is not as useful. You know, Cloud CMA can do a very nice report for you with all the photos and everything you need. But the reason this helps is because those tax records, those for sale by owners, are in here that you will not see when you're running Cloud CMA. Cool. I like to keep it as no preference. Again, you can modify the rest of these as you go. So if they have a pool, or if you want to put bedrooms and so forth, you can adjust those. So specifically with each property, as a default, I like keeping no preference. My distance from the subject property, I like to keep 1 mile. That's typically what most appraisers go. But if you're up in, you're more north, you're in Elmont or Armada, or you're further north where there's a lot of acreage and properties are further apart, then you may want to adjust this. So up to 10 miles. Sale price, again, I don't like adjusting any of these. The following: year built, bedrooms, bathrooms, stories. I don't like touching these unless I'm doing specifically for a property. My default is always left empty. These are already set up for me because I have my selections made as far as distance and my X and MLS records. Site influence, same thing. I don't include this until I get it to a specific property. Data type, I've got mine set up for sales date instead of the recording date, because as we know, counties get busy and recording date can be way after our sales date. Search time period. How many months back do you want to go? Right now, the market's been still a little crazy, so I like going 6 months. But as things slow down, you can go to 12 months, and by default, it will search. So I like to keep it at 6. Once things slow down, I'll come back in here and adjust my default. And again, you have an option for a date range too. So for a specific property, if you need to look back at certain dates, you can do that. Okay, for my property comparables, what do I want to see as far as the percentage of the difference of square footage? I like to see 20% above and 20% below square footage of my subject property. Again, you can make these modifications individually for anything specific you're searching. Same thing with lot area. And then please use your land use, don't use your style. So if you do a lot of condos, you might want to just put same as subject. If you don't do as many condos and you just do, single family residence, you might want to select that. Or if you mainly work with condos, you can select that and just do condos. And you have those options.
Hey, Lisa.
Yes.
So Mary had a question. She was not able to select the sales date. So I don't know if she had enough criteria in there that she couldn't select more. Oh, the date range or recording date, sales date. Okay, recording date or sales date.
It's because we've already have it selected for 6 months. So once you put time period, it locks it. And then you've got your sales, it's going to pull by sales date because we're looking 6 months back for sales.
Okay.
If you don't select that and you do a date range, then it should give you an option. Oh,
yes, Steve Scavone said the same. He cannot select sales date.
If I have to, and there must be a reason, and I've never used by recording date. So let me see, there's got to be a reason why it's not letting me, and I want to say it might be the source. So let's go back. I'm pulling just tax records. Let's see if I have an option here. Yep. So you have to have just tax records to go by recording date. Because the recording date is showing from tax records. So I have to go by tax sales only. If I do both, it's going to pull by sales date. So that's the difference. Because recording date is showing from the tax record. So it has to say tax sales. You want the data source by tax sales only. And that's how you're getting recording date. Does that make sense? See, because right now I have both, so it's only sales date. If I go back and I select just tax, I can now go a recording date. Okay. So again, I like to keep mine on both, so that's why it takes me back to just sales date. Because the MLS is not going to show a recording date, it only shows the sales date in the MLS. Does that make sense? Hopefully I'm not confusing everyone.
No answers back at this time.
Okay. Let me go back. X. And it looks like if you open it up, it's still giving you that option. But again, the MLS is not going to tell you when the county recorded it. So it really is only pulling tax records to get that information. So whichever way you prefer. Okay, and again, the last thing would be just like we were talking about is your land use. So make sure you have same as subject and single family residence. I skip style, I don't even mess with this. Okay, the next section is going to be those reports, those tabs we selected while we were doing the comparables. First one is your neighbor's report. These are, you won't have a lot of options in these, but you have some. So number of neighbors, how many neighbors do I want to see? You can go up to 30. Mine set up for 20. You go up to 30, that'll show up in your results. Again, these will go back as far as their last sale date. So it's going to show if it sold in 2005, it's going to show that date. Distance from the subject property, how far do you want to go out? You go up to 3 miles. I just have a half mile just to try to stay, close to the subject and within the sub. Do I want my boundary to be the same as the subdivision, the zip code, the city? Again, it's whatever you choose. If you're running condos, this is really more helpful to have the subdivision, because again, if you're running a condo, you pull in city and zip, you're going to be way off. And even street, because the condo names can, they have different streets. Same thing with your sub if you want to pull further out than just the street itself. So I like to keep on your same subdivision. We want to include our property images. So that is for our neighbor report. Profile report. This is basically where your schools are, your businesses. The only options you have to change are your schools and businesses. For schools, how far do I want to go from the subject property on schools? And you can go up to 10 miles. What type of schools do I want to see? Public, private, or both? And what category? So right now mine are all selected. If there's something here you don't want to include, all you do is, maybe I don't want a vocational school in the area, I can just remove it. All this is going to do is in that neighborhood profile report, it's going to give you the list of the schools, the names of them, their distance, their ratings, how many kids they have in that school and so forth. So anything you don't want, again, you can go ahead and just, remove. And you can clear them all if you don't want any of them. And it can be just, if you just want the elementary, middle, and high school, you can do that as well. Same thing with businesses. You can go as far as up to 10 miles. I just have mine set for 1. You can go up to 25 businesses, and then you can select what kind of businesses you want them seeing. The businesses I find are helpful if you have someone relocating, from another area. Maybe they live in the west side or the east side, they live out of state, they live up north. This might help them just to see what's in the area. Okay, so that is all of our choices here. These are the choices you have for each one of those reports. The next thing we're going to do is just set up your email signature, and then I'll show you your parcel line selection. That's it. So let's go ahead and save this. Bottom right corner of your screen, there's save changes. I just don't want your computer to freeze and you lose everything, so it's been saved. Let's go back to the left side of your screen. Email signature, this is where you set up that email signature. So every time you send an email report to your client, your information is going to show up. So you can see mine just has my name, realtor, the office, my phone number, and email address. All you have to do is just click in this box, type in your information. You can make it bold, you can change your font size, you can change your font itself. Just highlight, select everything. Whatever you said. Again, you can make any changes you'd like to this right here. You can't add a photo, unfortunately. I know a few people asked me about adding that in the past. We can't add any photos or your logo. I have not found a way to pull this in because I can't really upload here. All I'm doing is typing in my information. So you are limited on what can be in here, but you can type in at least all your contact information. So when you do send this, your client has your contact info and they know it's coming from you. You can change the color of your font as well. You can justify it too. So once you have this done, and if you don't have it done right now, you can do it later as well. The last thing I'm going to show you, and you can go back to this after, is just your map. The only thing in your map is if you have this turned on, your parcel lines will appear every time you open the map. I like having it in just because if I don't have time and I just want to find something quickly, I don't want to run a full search, I just want to click, I know where the house is, I can just click and find it. So that's what the parcel line does. If you don't want it on, you can turn it off. It's not a problem. Okay, save your change if you made a change there. If you still want to do your email signature, you're welcome to. I'm just going to answer any questions at this point.
No questions as of yet.
Well, hopefully that means that I did well and everyone knows exactly what I did. And if not, we will do more Realist classes. You're welcome to come to as many as you like.
All right, Corinne has, oh, here we have some questions coming in. All right, Corinne asks, did BSNA change the map view?
Did BSNA change it? I don't, and are you talking Realist or are you talking about BSNA records? So BSNA is your city records. So that is the link that we go to that takes us individually to every city to see their tax records.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing a map view in BSNA.
No.
Darlene, where do I get the cheat sheets? Okay. Okay, John, back to BSNA. Many areas charge fees. How to get around? Okay, well, my real source picks up your fee for Macomb County and the Grosse Pointes.
So here is BSNA. So I went back to my listing and I selected, you have an icon. So if you're on the full report, you've got this icon. It's supposed to be a pillar. It looks like a trash can. We keep telling them to change it. They haven't changed it yet. But if you hover on it, it does say BSNA. You select it. And you notice this is a Macomb County listing. So there's no charge for me. So I can click on it and it pulls all the tax records. So this is BSNA information and you can view exactly how that comes. If it's a property that is not within Macomb County or the Grosse Pointes, and hopefully St. Clair coming soon, then you will get the same thing as you did before. It will show very little information here, and then it gives you an option to pay, I believe it's $2 for records to get that information.
Okay.
Questions, Debbie, at this point? Someone wanted me to show them something. They didn't say what.
Yep, so Roger was asking if we actually did have a BSNA class. So I was just sending back that we haven't had one in a while. It is on our YouTube channel. Let's see. Oh, Mary would like to know if you could show us again real quickly how to know if a home sold by owner.
Okay. So it is the difference between sales record and MLS records. So let's take a look at these. I'm going to scroll here on where I'm at right now. So if you notice on here on my page, on my split here view at the bottom, your sale price is going to be, we want to look for data, actually, it's probably going to be better. Let's see if it's in here. Okay, you have an option, I don't know if I showed you, you can show some of the certain columns and so forth. You do have a customized table here. So I can hide columns, which I should, because I have some empty ones here that I really don't know, that I don't know what's supposed to be in there because it's just empty. There's nothing there, so I can move these around. But the sale date, I'm going to open some of these real quick because the sale date really is what's going to tell you, because there's sold date and then MLS sale date, and that's how you can tell the difference. So I want to find one. Let's see if there's one. There's a difference in pricing. With this one right here, this was a commercial building. I don't know how much I can see on it. Let me open up this commercial building. I'm just curious to see if I can see information on here. So you can see here at the top, sale price, sale date. It doesn't say MLS. If it was sold in the MLS, it was MLS. This was a by owner. This is a commercial property, so it's a much larger property, but it was by owner. They probably have attorneys involved and so forth, but it was not in the MLS. So what you're looking for is MLS sale price and MLS sale date. That's the difference.
Mary did ask for a specific home address. Can you actually type that in for us? And because she wanted to see that. Awesome. So whenever you're ready for it.
I'm going to clear everything first. Please make sure you clear all, because if not, you're going to keep saying 0 results. It happens. I've done it multiple times. Okay, so address is here on the left. So make sure if you close your criteria box, we're going to open that back up.
And the address is, that is 69201 Henry Ross. And that's in Bruce.
Okay, I'm going to just put this in right now. Let's see if it finds it first, because I find less is better. There you go.
Look at that.
Because sometimes if it's drive, if it's road, if it's avenue, and you don't put in exactly, it doesn't find it. So less is better. Put in street number, street name. And then if you're still having a hard time, put a comma or put the city in, because it might take you to another city. Sometimes the same street is located somewhere else. But here it is.
So that says MLS standard status, said it was sold. So
it looks like, yep. So it was last MLS sale date was 1995 on this.
Just a little bit.
Hopefully this is a potential listing for you. And there's other tax information.
All right.
And if you find that there isn't a lot, and I know sometimes I've talked to agents, they call me, they're like, I can barely find anything on here. If you're not finding much information, it's because this is all Realist is able to find on it. So if you get to the characteristics and it's filling like barely anything out, then you might have to pay, a couple dollars if it's something that's not located within Macomb or the Grosse Pointes to get the full tax records on it.
HomeSnap showed that property last sold in 2020. Mary's doing some very good investigating.
Okay. Is it showing, is it an MLS record or was it a tax sale? Does she know? If she wants to even call me after, I'll investigate it with her. I'd like to know why it's not showing up on here.
Actually, I will put your number in a message to her.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. If anything comes up like that, we always like to know about it because we want to know if there's a glitch in the system. Is it because Realist doesn't have more data on it? They never received the information. We're just trying to figure out, if there's a problem, we definitely want it fixed.
Excellent. And you know what? Here I am adding in your number, but in HomeSnap, you can find every agent around their contact information.
I'm in there. All my info's in there. But if you need help with something, tech support's the first one to go to. I'm not that tech savvy. I can get by, but I'm not tech savvy. But I can help with something simple. But tech support's 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So if you need help, please don't spend 2 hours trying to figure one thing out, which they could probably do in 5 minutes.
Yes. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Lisa, for another wonderful class today. I see with all the responses and the thank yous here that everybody else is very happy as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for helping, Deb. I appreciate you keeping up on the questions. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Hopefully soon enough, we will be in a classroom again. I'd like to see all of you, not just to have you look at my screen and Debbie. So hopefully we get to see you soon. Please come to more classes. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Is there anything else that I missed, Debbie?
We're good. Awesome.
All right, everyone. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Deb.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.